Did I just hear festive bells ringing? Oh my god, I can't believe it's already Christmas. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. You guys know when it's Christmas, it's all about food, and good food. What a nice way of starting Christmas than sharing with you a very yummy recipe. Today I'll be showing you how to make Ghana's very own Kontomire stew. So I hope you enjoy. My name is Thelma. Welcome to my kitchen. So as usual, I'm going to begin by sharing with you my ingredients. I have here palm oil. I also have here some washed tomatoes. I also have some scotch bonnet pepper and garlic. And here is my powdered red cayenne pepper. I have here stock cube, white pepper and curry powder. I'll also be using some eggs for this recipe. You can also add agushi, but I'll be using only eggs today. I also have here some white onions, purple onions or red onions, and some ginger. And for the protein, I also have here some washed salmon. I have here some uwele or momo or cow skin. And I have here my stale fish or momone. So now, let's start cooking. So I did not mention the kontomire when listing the ingredients, but this is our kontomire or cocoyam leaves. Okay, so I have here some cocoyam leaves and I have washed them thoroughly. So you begin by washing your cocoyam leaves and then you will cut it up into very thin slices like I am cutting them up now. While we continue to cut up our kontomire into very thin slices, I want to say a very big welcome to all of you for coming back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me here every time to cook extremely delicious recipes. I hope you do try them out and enjoy them. But if this is your first time seeing me, hi, my name is Thelma and I am based in Ghana. I make delicious recipes right from Ghana. So please subscribe and join this beautiful family to learn how to make sumptuous meals. Okay, thank you. We are done cutting up our kontomire now, and I like to boil my kontomire with a little bit of salt so that when I'm making the stew I don't add in too much salt. Okay, so I added a little bit of salt to the leaves and I'm just going to be adding enough water to boil. Now that we have put our kontomire on fire to boil, we are going to prep our spices. So I'm going to begin by cutting up the spices and then just throwing them in the blender and blending everything up. So now that our spice blend is ready, I'm going to set it aside and I'm also going to be blending my tomatoes. Okay, so I did not blend the tomatoes and the spices together because I'm going to be putting them in the stew at different times and I don't want to blend them together. Okay, it's about 5 to 10 minutes now and our kontomire has started boiling. So I'm just going to give it a stir to make sure that the leaves are well immersed in the boiling water and the leaves boil and cook very well. So now I'm going to be slicing my white onions into bigger chunks because I'm going to be using this directly in the stew. The red or purple onions were for blending, okay? This is what I'm going to be just sprinkling in the stew. So I'm going to be cutting this up in bigger chunks because I like my onions very crunchy in my stew. And after that, I'm going to be cutting up my wele into rings, okay? So the cow skin is already folded, so I'm just going to cut it up and it's going to form little beautiful rings for me. This wele is very well washed, and when you cut it up tiny like this, you don't need to pre-boil it again before using it for your stew. So just cut it up into tiny pieces. And I'm also going to be cutting up my stale fish. Most people don't cut up their momone, but I want the momone to diffuse very well into the stew. So I'm going to be cutting up my momone into tiny pieces like you can see. And our protein is also ready. At this point, our kontomire has been boiling for about 15 minutes and it is cooked, okay? The cocoyam leaves are very well cooked at this point. So I'm just going to turn off the heat and strain the leaves. Now that we are done with that, I'm just going to set it aside and we start making our stew, okay? So I have my pan on fire and I have added in my palm oil, okay? And now I'm going to be adding in most of my onions, okay? I have reserved a little bit to add in later, but I have added in most of my sliced onions now, and I am just going to fry it a little bit. So after frying my onions for about a minute, I have added in my momone or stale fish. And you guys, if you are Ghanaian and you use stale fish, you know how much momone takes the food to a different level. And that is what this momone did. It took the taste to a completely different level. So make sure you add momone if you can lay your hands on momone. And as you can see, I also added in some of my blended spices, and I have added in my wele at this point because I want the wele to start sipping in all the juices from the blended spices. This wele is going to be extremely tasty and it's going to make the stew very delicious. So now that the wele has sipped in the spices for about 3 minutes, I'm also going to be adding in my washed salmon at this point so that it can also sip in the juices from the spices. Oh my god, when you do your kontomire stew this way, it is going to be so yummy. So I added in a little bit of salt to taste so that it can just seal everything. So it's about 5 minutes later and our spices have been frying together with our wele and fish. So I'm going to be adding in my blended tomatoes at this point and cook it as well. After the tomatoes have been frying in the stew for about 5 minutes, I'm just going to give it a stir and I'll be adding in my pepper now, okay? So this here is my red cayenne pepper. I've added in that, and I'm also going to be adding in the rest of my spices. So I'm going to be adding in my stock cube, the white pepper, and the curry powder. After that has boiled for another 3 minutes, I'm just going to be adding in the rest of my blended spices, and then we are going to stir it and cover it up. With that, our stew base is almost ready, so I'm just going to be tossing in my cooked cocoyam leaves at this point, or kontomire. So you toss that in at this point. So continue to stir your stew until the kontomire is evenly distributed in all parts of the stew, okay? Next, you are going to be cracking your eggs, okay? I am cracking all my eggs into the same bowl at the same time because I am very sure of the freshness. But if you are not very certain of the freshness of your egg, you don't want to spoil all of your eggs because of one bad egg. So make sure you break them into one bowl and then pour it into another just to be sure they are fresh. And after I am done breaking and whisking, I'm going to be stirring my stew to make sure it's loose enough. Then I'm going to be adding in my egg. When you add in your eggs, make sure you swirl the stew. Don't stir it vigorously if you want to be seeing the egg chunks. If you stir it vigorously, the egg will not be in chunks. But hey, if you want your egg in pieces, you don't want it in chunks, then you can go ahead to stir your stew vigorously at this point. But I want my egg in chunks, so I'm just going to swirl it so that it can cook in chunks. Then I will just stir it gently to avoid breaking it into pieces. So after making sure that my egg is evenly distributed, I'm going to be adding in the rest of my onions at this point, and I'm just going to cover it up to simmer and soften, okay? I don't want it too soft and I don't want it too crunchy or uncooked either. So I'm just going to leave it on top like this and cover it up so that it can cook in the steam. And guys, just like that, our stew is ready. Our famous, delicious, yummy kontomire stew is ready, guys. You don't want to miss this recipe, especially this holiday season. Make sure you do try this recipe out. Make sure you share it with your family and friends. Let everybody try this recipe out. This recipe is so yummy, so delicious, and very versatile. Like, you can eat it with yam, you can eat with rice, you can eat with plantain, you can eat it cocoyam, anything you want to use to eat your kontomire stew. On this day, I ate mine with yam, okay? So you can use this stew for so many purposes. So please make sure you do try it out, and when you do try it out, please tag me on social media. I'd like to see what you recreated, okay? Thank you, and thank you so much for watching. If you watched up to this point, God bless you. Please make sure you try this recipe out and share it with all your family and friends, okay? Until our next video, keep on cooking delicious things, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in our next video. Okay, stay safe. Bye.